Hey everyone, welcome to Turkish series stars. All the details are in our video. Make sure you subscribe and share before we dive in. Thank you for being here. The last few days in the tabloid world have been nothing short of chaotic, with Navruz's name dragged into a whirlpool of speculation. Late last night, the actor finally stepped into the spotlight with a statement that cut through the noise like a blade. He didn't mince words. He didn't dance around the topic. He spoke with a steady voice and an unflinching gaze, and that alone was enough to make the entire industry lean in. For days, whispers had been building into a storm. Anonymous claims, fragments of gossip, vague insinuations that Alp might have been emotionally preoccupied with someone outside his relationship had divided both fans and media watchers. People waited, refreshing their feeds, hoping for clarity. And then it came. Alp, who had been silent while the conversations grew louder, finally addressed everything head-on. He rejected the talk, calling it hurtful and unfounded, and then he said the part that made headlines by sunrise. Alina is the person I carry in my heart. I have never imagined pledging my life to anyone but her, and I have no intention of ever doing so. It was not a rehearsed slogan, not a line crafted only to charm. It sounded like a promise he'd been meaning to voice, something that had been sitting on his chest, waiting for the right moment to be said out loud. From the moment those words were published, everything shifted. According to people close to the couple, the push to speak publicly came from a place of deep frustration. The rumors weren't just prying, they were invasive. They were testing the quiet space Alp and Alina had built between themselves, and Alp could feel that space being chipped away by commentary he couldn't control. A friend from set said he'd been pacing between takes, phone in hand, relaying every new headline, every stray comment to Alina, trying to make sense of why it had escalated so quickly. He was nervous, yes, but also resolute. He wanted to protect what they had, not with a dramatic gesture on a red carpet, but with words that left no room for ambiguity. And Alina? Calm. Strikingly calm. Those who know her say she has always been poised in public and grounded in private, and these last few days proved it. She took in the noise without letting it rearrange her inner world. She listened to Alp, heard the tremor under his determination, and gave him the kind of steady reassurance that only comes from trust that has been earned, not demanded. After his statement, people close to her say she exhaled for the first time in days. She wasn't jubilant or triumphant. She was relieved. Because when you care for someone and you both work under bright lights, the line between the real and the performed can blur. Last night, Alp drew a line in permanent ink. The ripple effect was immediate. Timelines overflowed. The name that kept appearing wasn't a slogan with a symbol in front of it, but a simple pairing, Alp Alina. It surged through feeds, posted by fan pages, casual viewers, and even a few colleagues who rarely get involved in public commentary. Some called the declaration disarmingly romantic. Others said it felt almost territorial in a way that sparked debate. But most agreed on one thing: this was a turning point. And as the comments mounted, so did the questions. Was this just about clearing the air, or was it the preface to something bigger? Was the promise in his words a soft echo of an intention already forming behind the scenes? Insiders whispered that the answer wouldn't be far off. People within their circle insist that Alp's choice to speak wasn't simply about reputational damage, it was about protecting the bond he's forged with Alina. The rumors had started nibbling at the edges of projects, too, with story conferences derailed by chatter and set corridors humming with speculation. Between camera setups, Alp was said to be in touch with Alina constantly, swapping updates, analyzing how to manage the wave, sharing how unsettling it felt to watch a private life discussed like a plot twist. Through it all, he kept saying the same thing: what matters most is that she knows exactly where he stands. The industry paid attention. Producers, directors, and writers who have quietly tracked the pair's public energy took note of the outpouring. More than one production, according to well-placed sources, began eyeing small script adjustments that could lean into the current of interest around them. One producer, who has worked with both in different capacities, was overheard saying, "Alp and Alina are the pairing people can't stop watching, even when they're not on screen together. There's a spark, but it's not the noisy kind. It's the sort that makes viewers believe there's a real story pulsing under the surface." As the comment made its way around group chats, conversations about potential collaborations restarted with a fresh urgency. On Alina's side, those close to her say the last 24 hours have crystallized a lot. They describe a woman who chooses her battles carefully and refuses to let manufactured tension dictate her days. She has reportedly adjusted her schedule with more caution, steering clear of crowded public spaces unless necessary, not out of fear, but to keep the attention from becoming a feeding frenzy. Despite the background buzz, her trust in Alp has not wavered. When the air gets thick with commotion, she keeps to her routine, anchors her focus, and lets actions speak. And for their friends, that has been the defining feature of this relationship: quiet loyalty. No dramatics, no performances, just consistency. Fans, meanwhile, have been in full detective mode. They've revisited old interviews, slowed down behind-the-scenes clips, and combed through shared photos for signs they might have missed, as if their history holds a code that explains why this week unfolded as it did. There's speculation that a joint project could arrive sooner than anyone expected, not as a stunt, but as a story they've both wanted to tell. Others read Alp's words as something even more serious than a public reassurance. In their eyes, it sounded like a vow, a way of saying that the future he imagines has a single constant. The way people reacted to that line said a lot about their own hopes for the couple. And yet, beyond the applause and the editorial takes, there's the quieter reality of day-to-day life. Alp's schedule has been unforgiving lately, with late nights and early calls, scenes that take a dozen takes to land, and the kind of focus that pushes everything else to the margins. Alina's calendar doesn't leave much breathing room either. Even so, their friends insist they find time that never shows up in photos. Late dinners at unassuming spots, an afternoon walk tucked between meetings, a brief visit to set that no one notices because it looks like any other crew member passing by. These small, carefully protected moments are why, according to people who know them, the outside noise doesn't penetrate as deeply as one might think. The foundation, they say, isn't just new love's sugar high. It's routine, it's choices, it's showing up. Of course, the louder the conversation, the more tempting it becomes to add new twists. Some columns have tried to darken the mood, hinting that the talk benefits from the pair's visibility, suggesting that any public romance invites shadow. But in the same breath, others argue the opposite, that the rumors feed on popularity but lack the power to truly sway two people who are oriented toward each other. In this reading, Alp's statement wasn't just a shield for himself. It was a way of standing in front of Alina, of absorbing the heat so it wouldn't land on her. Friends in their circle insist that's not posturing, it's how he is in private, how he moves when he feels protective. And the response online has reflected that sentiment. Affection poured in. People wrote that they had been waiting to hear him speak this plainly. They said the words mattered because they matched what they'd sensed all along. In comment sections and fan threads, the pair's name kept popping up everywhere at once. Alina wasn't a gimmick, it was shorthand for the energy people have been tracking for months. Some thought the statement was less a romantic flourish than a sign of the future, a line in the sand that makes room for the next chapter to be announced without the echo of this week's noise. Others wondered aloud if a ring might follow, or at the very least a gesture that pushes their private certainty into something the public can't miss. Inside the industry, crews traded stories. A camera operator mentioned that Alp had spent a break on the phone, laughing at something only to quiet down and listen, eyes fixed on the horizon like he was memorizing the sound of the person on the other end. A script supervisor recalled Alina dropping by a set weeks ago, moving lightly through a crowd, leaving without fanfare. Nothing sensational, nothing staged. Scenes like these became part of the narrative people told themselves to make sense of this present moment. These are not characters hitting their marks, these are two professionals who know how to hold the private line. As the dust begins to settle, one sense dominates: expectancy. Alp's unwavering tone and Alina's composed strength have turned a frantic news cycle into a prelude. It feels as if they've opened a window just enough to let the world know what matters, and then closed it again, leaving everyone outside to speculate about what comes next. Will there be a joint announcement? A creative partnership that lets their chemistry unfold on screen? Or something more intimate and consequential that pivots their personal story into a new phase? The air hums with those questions. For now, their friends say, they are keeping their heads down and their priorities aligned. Trust and loyalty are the center of gravity, not as lofty ideals, but as daily practices. Alp's devotion, they add, shows up less in declarations than in the small, consistent gestures that accumulate over time. He makes room for her life, for her ambitions, for her rhythm, and she does the same. That is what gives the relationship its weight. Not the pictures, not the rare public sightings, but the choices made when no one is watching. So here we are, on the other side of a statement that quieted one storm and stirred up a dozen hopes. The town is watching. The set corridors are listening. The fans are waiting, and the couple at the center of it all is moving forward with a steadiness that has, ironically, become their most captivating quality. Whether the next chapter is an on-screen duet, an announcement that shifts their trajectory, or simply another month of showing up for each other away from the clamor, one thing seems clear. The words that landed last night did more than deny. They outlined a future in which the noise dims and the signal stays. We'll keep tracking every development here at Turkish Series Stars, and we'll bring you confirmed updates the moment they surface. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to Turkish Series Stars and share the video. Until next time, take care and stay tuned.